I'm Miss Coles, and I'm just going to talk to you about how we teach phonics here in foundation stage. We use a system called Jolly Phonics, and Jolly Phonics is a fun and child-centred approach to teaching literacy through synthetic phonics. There are 42 letter sounds, and each sound has a really fun action and story that goes with it, which is really motivating for the children. The letter sounds are split into 7 groups, which you can see on the chart on the screen. At the moment, we're just working through the group number 1 sounds, and we'll be moving on the weeks that are coming up onto the other groups. So children are learning that words are constructed from phonemes, and that phonemes are represented by their graphemes, so how they're written. They begin with a small selection of common consonants and vowels, such as those in the first group there, and they begin to put them together to start to read and spell CVC words, such as sat, pin, tap, ant. So we might initially start with some games to see how many different words the children can come up with, just using those letters and sounds that are in set 1. At the bottom, I've put a link to YouTube where you'll be able to see all of the Jolly Phonics jingles and videos that we'll be using in school, just if you wanted to have a look at them to see how we pronounce each of the different sounds. So we talk a bit about phase 2, and that's those groups that we've just looked at are classed as the phase 2 sounds. Most of those are single letter sounds, but as you come into sort of group 6, you'll see that we have some digraphs. A digraph is 2 letters that make one sound, such as s in words like hiss. And children will also begin to learn to read tricky words, such as the, to, go, I, and no. And they're called a tricky word because they cannot be read phonetically. So those words are embedded into our phonics sessions as well. Mr. Roy will be talking a little bit more about those later. So a typical phonics session in foundation stage will be a whole class on the carpet, and it will normally last between 15 and 20 minutes. We initially start by revisiting sounds that we've learnt previously to keep them fresh in their minds, and we'll introduce a new sound then each day. As it's a multi-sensory method, we use stories and actions, as I've mentioned. So for example, when we were looking at introducing the S, so the letter S, which makes the S sound, we use these stories. So for example, this story was about Sam and his dog Spot, who really likes going to the park and chasing his sticks. And as you might notice, there are lots of other things in the picture that also have the S sound in them. So we'll start with a story, then we will learn a little jingle, which will help them to remember it. If I'm just going to play one now that links with this story.
The snake is in the grass, the snake is in the grass, the snake is in the grass.
So that really helps the children to associate the action with the sound and help them to remember it. So we will then have another look at the pictures, see if we can pick out some of the objects that have today's sound in them. And then typically we'd have a go at writing some of them onto our whiteboards. So for example, we'll start our segmenting and blending sessions. So we will start to use what we call sound buttons with the children as the weeks go on. So a sound button shows the individual sounds that are in a word. And the children this week were picking out the word sand because they saw some sand down by the pond. Someone spotted the sun. So it just helps them to segment sun, which will enable them to sound and spell when they're writing independently eventually. Other things we might do once they become really confident at sounding out to spell, we might ask them to put these words into sentences. They might make up some fun sentences to share with their friends. And we use lots of individual whiteboards and pens so that they're all involved having a hands-on go at forming the letters themselves. Just some ideas for things that you could do at home if you've got time. We've got I Spy, which we play in school, but instead of the usual I Spy, this time it's an I Spy the sound. So you might say that you can I spy my little eye something beginning with S, and they might find something maybe when you're out and about that have that sound. Other things you might just want to practice some writing at home, but we would say make sure that it's fun. It could be writing in sand, paint, water, make it as practical as you can. If you're reading and sharing books together at home, maybe draw their attention to some of the sounds that you'll be learning in the week. These will be on our class blog and on our Twitter page, so you can keep up with the sounds that we're learning this week. And if you've also got time, they can listen to the jingles on YouTube. And I've put the link at the bottom there for you. So there will be things coming home that Mr. Roy will talk to you about that will also aid them in their phonics skills as well at home. Thank you. That's just a whistle-stop tour of how we teach phonics here. If you've got any questions, then obviously do ask any of the team here. Thank you.